So, hi. I won't be at school today because I have jury duty. So, instead of you learning from a substitute or Mr. Boyer or somebody like that, I'm actually going to try to teach you from a YouTube video. So, we'll see how this goes. Alright, so what we're going to learn today is in your grammar book. It is chapter 5, and it starts on page 120. So everybody needs to go there. Go ahead, open it up. Okay, so when you're there, you can press pause if everybody needs some time, but I'm going to just keep on going since you can pause me now. All right, so there are a couple of rules that you need to know when you're doing singular and plural, because all of this stuff is going to end up on the ERBs like in a massive way. So it's really important that you know it. And just because, also you need to, good grief, you need to know how to sound educated. And I think that's probably even more important. So this is why we're learning this now. Okay, so first when we talk about number, you're talking about singular or plural, right? So you probably heard that before. Singular is how many things?
One.
Plural is how many things?
Two or more.
Two or more. That's right. My 8-year-old knows this. I hope you do too. And then the big rule is, if you're talking about singular and plural, a subject has to agree with its verb. So if your subject is singular, your verb has to be
Singular.
And if your subject is plural, your verb has to be
Plural.
That's right. See, my son knows this, so you should know this too. Okay. Good job. That's the dogs. They're growling at somebody. All right. One of the biggest mistakes people make in singular and plural is this. They try to make the object of a preposition the subject. So don't do that. When you're looking at a sentence trying to find out whether something is singular and plural, mark out the prepositional phrase between your subject and your verb. Really important. Okay, enough. Thank you. All right, so if you were looking at, let's see, hold on. If you were looking at page 121, you'll see some examples at the bottom of the page. The apartments across the street do not have balconies. Does everybody see that? You mark out across the street, that's your prep phrase. You'll see that apartments do not have. So you've got subject and verb. Oh look, Miss Humphries is texting me. I'll have to deal with that. Okay, thank you, sorry. So just remember that if you have a prep phrase between your subject and your verb, you need to mark that out. Get into the habit of doing that, because even though it's probably easy now, it will be harder and more difficult for you if you don't get into that habit. All right, so I want everybody to go through with the substitute exercise 2 and exercise 3 and exercise 4, and y'all can do this orally. You don't have to write it down, and when you're done, you can come back to me because I've got some more to say. All right, bye. All right. Okay, so we're back, and I hope that those 3 things went pretty easily. If you marked out prepositional phrases, especially on that last thing, there she is again, Miss Eason. How about that? Sorry. If you marked out your prepositional phrases, it shouldn't have been a big deal. But now, the stuff I'm about to tell you just in a few minutes, it's going to be absolutely essential that you do this. Otherwise, you're going to run into problem after problem after problem, and you will make a big F on the ERBs and on the IC. So it's best if you pay attention. All right, so I'm looking at page 124, and we're going to be talking about thank you. We're going to be talking about some words that either are always singular, always plural, or can be both. So it's going to depend. So I want you to think of basically 3 columns. You're going to think of a bunch of words that always take a singular verb, a bunch of words that always take a plural verb, and then a bunch of words that can go either way depending on, I'll say in just a minute. Okay, so let's talk about the ones that oh my god. Okay, so both boys are gone on a play date right now, so I'm nice and quiet. The dogs are out back, so I can get this last part of this grammar lesson out of the way. All right, so now that you've gotten the basics down, you're going to need to pay attention to some really special words, some indefinite pronouns that are going to likely determine how well you do on these standardized tests that are coming up soon. Plus, again, like I said, it's really important for you to sound educated, and that seems to be my job, so I want to make you educated. So here's my attempt. All right, so everybody needs to look at page 124 in your book, and you need to look at rule number 5D, 5E, and 5F. Each one of these sets of rules indicates a list of words that either are singular or plural, or they depend on something else, which I'll get to in just a second. If you look at 5D, there are a bunch of words there that are always going to be singular and only going to take a singular verb. So they are the words that always end in body or thing or one. So like anybody, anyone, anything, somebody, someone, something, no one, nobody, nothing. Get the hint? Get the hang of it? Also, words like one, each, either, neither, those are also all singular, and it's really important that you just memorize them. And I know you guys don't like to do that, but here is going to make a difference. So, taking a look at this, you see, hold on, this is all backwards. So, all right, so here is each, and each is on the singular list. Hi. And each is always singular. Do you see how I bracketed off that prep phrase? That's because prep phrases don't matter. You need to get them out of your head and bracket them off or cross them out or something so that you are not tempted to use the word boys as the subject of your sentence. Okay? So that is how that singular column works. You're going to look at the one word, that's your subject, keep the prepositional phrases out of it, and then go for a singular verb. The second rule is nothing but a list, actually only 4 words that are always plural. Both, few, many, and several. And you treat those the same way you would treat the singular ones, except you're dealing with something that's plural. So here's an example here. Both of the boys are geniuses. The word both is on the list of plural indefinite pronouns. Notice how I've bracketed off the prepositional phrase, and then are is plural. You don't go by boys. That's even though it is plural. It's just a coincidence. So only look at the indefinite pronoun at the beginning of the sentence, your subject. Okay? Now, the last part of this, Rule 5F, is the trickiest one. These words can go either way. And in this case, and this is the only case where it matters, it does depend on the prepositional phrase. This is the only time you're allowed to look at it. The only time you're allowed to look at the prepositional phrase at the beginning of a sentence that comes after a subject is when you have the list of words that are on 5F at the bottom of page 124. They're all, any, more, most, none, and some. In that case, you are going to have to look at the prep phrase to determine whether or not your subject is singular or plural. So, in this case, look at this. Some of the, hold on, it's all backwards. Some of the songs are good. Do you see how some is going to be plural? Because of the prepositional phrase. That word songs is plural. And the reason I can look at that prepositional phrase is because it's on the list that could go either way at the bottom of 124. Now, I'm going to flip this over, and this is an example of where some is singular. Some of the music is good. Music is singular, therefore is your verb instead of are. Since some is on the list of pronouns that can go either way, you get to look at the prepositional phrase, but this is the only time you get to do it. Okay, so that's that. It's really important that you learn all of these prepositional phrases. I want you to go put them in your doc. I want them to be listed out by column. There should be a little table where you can write them all in and keep track of them. I will be quizzing you on whether or not you know them for memory. So it's a good idea if you figure out some patterns, know how many are in each column, and be able to freely recall them at a moment's notice. And the first quiz will be tomorrow. So you're going to need to spend some time with it. The quizzes will each be however many pronouns there are. So count them all up in those 3 rules that I just went over, and that's how many points your quiz is going to be. I know it sort of sounds harsh. It's very old school, but this kind of thing will help you do really well on those ERBs and ICs that are coming up, and that's why I think it's important. All right, well, I got to go do some laundry, so I'll be back later with another lesson. See ya. Be good. Don't do anything bad.